Hello, research design and analysis students. My name is Dr. Wickline, and I am going to be using some screencasts this semester to show you how to use some of the SPSS things, especially since some of us aren't in class in the physical space right now. This is a way for me to help demonstrate to you the skills that we're using in our statistical analysis software. So sometimes I will say hi from here first, and then I'll usually zip up into the corner so I'm not super distracting, but you remember that there is a person behind this video and behind the work that we're doing that is still rooting for you and wants you to do the best you can with these new skills and tasks. So it does take a little bit to get used to. Give yourself some patience and some time and realize that stats is practice, just like a foreign language. So it's going to take you a little while until you feel like you've tried it out, now you really remember what to do. All right, so I'm going to zip up here in the corner for now and show you how to get started with an SPSS data file. So the data file has two different views. If you notice down here in the corner, there's a data view where you have each variable and the score that the person got on that particular variable or construct. And then there's the variable view, where it describes the variable itself and some important characteristics about it. Now, if you started from scratch with a new file, which you guys will sometimes need to do this semester, it's going to be blank in both of those spaces. So our goal is to get the data put in, and we would start usually with the variable view, and we type in a name for the variables that we're looking at, and it will sort of auto-generate these columns over here to show you what else it needs from you. Now, it is helpful to do a short name, not too many characters long. It's set up by default to be 8 letters or characters long. It's also by default going to give you numeric characters. This is numbers, things we can use in SPSS to run our statistical analyses on. There are other options, a lot of which you don't need to know about for SPSS, although if you did want to put in just a string of words or a narrative response, you could use this option string, and then SPSS will recognize this isn't a number. It's a different language. This is letters, and it can't run analyses on letters. So again, sometimes if you have something that's not working, make sure that you still mostly got numbers for the things that you guys want to set up, right? Then, once you've put your variables in, if you go to data view, you'll see each of those variables makes a column for you to type in the information for each person. So this is the number of cases in your data set over here, person 1 or animal 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now, I have already started to fill this in, so I'm going to show you the other important things that are good to put in with your data set so that it's set up well and so that other people know what they're looking at if they happen to pull open your file. So in this particular example, in a typical semester, I would give students little bags of Skittles and ask them to record the number of red, yellow, orange, and green candies they have. Some semesters we have M&Ms, and those colors work out for that too. If we're not in a place where we can do that in class together, or if you miss class, then this is a data set from a previous semester where we are practicing setting up data and running descriptive statistics with our candies. Because, let's face it, something like math is always better with a little bit of sugar. All right, so you put the name in. Let's say we wanted to know how many red, yellow, orange, and green candies each person had in their bag. It sets it up as a numeric type of data. And then it's helpful for you to put the label in here so you know what the actual thing or question was. If you've got a survey item, it's helpful to have the whole survey question so that you know exactly how that question was asked. In this case, we didn't really ask people a question. We just asked them how many red Skittles you had. So I put in labels here to help me remember what these short names mean. Now, the next thing we might want is here in the values column. And values is where we help translate from math to English. So if we were using a nominal variable, something like gender, male, female, transgender, asexual, or ethnicity, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, Native peoples, First Peoples, and we have a word, but we want to translate that to a number so we can do something with it statistically, it is helpful for us to use this values column to tell SPSS what that number means. This also helps us when we put our output and run our tests, because we may forget, what was that 3 again? I don't know. But if it tells us, hey, a 3 meant Latina, oh great, then it's going to put your output with the words on it instead of those numbers that SPSS is using. So what we do for values, if we need one, is we click this box and it brings up 3 little dots. When we click the 3 little dots, this is where we can translate math to English. So let's say we were asking people their ethnicity. We could say maybe 1 is our African American individuals. When we type in the value in the label and add it, SPSS says, okay, that number means that label. All right, we could say then 2 is Asian American, 3 maybe Hispanic, Latino. All right, and some people use Latinx right now. So if we put these in and click OK, then whenever that number shows up, SPSS will throw in a word instead. All right, so we see those words. If you ever wanted not to see the words, just go up to View and click off this value labels, and it'll show you what the numbers mean again. Okay, value labels. Now, in our particular data set, we don't really need these. We're talking about color candies. We don't need labels right now, but I wanted to show you how those labels would work if you wanted to put them in for some of your nominal data. The other column that we need to tell it what we have is the type of measure. Now, if you click on measure, you'll see that SPSS has 3 options, and these are words we've been talking about for the last couple weeks, mostly. Right? We've talked about our 4 scales of measurement: nominal, ordinal, and over ratio. So we see nominal, and if we had a nominal variable, we'd want to put that. We see ordinal, and then there's scale. So the thing about scale is interval and ratio data have a lot in common. They both have numeric values that are continuous on a number line. They have intervals that are equal or even. A dollar is a dollar is a dollar. A degree of temperature is a degree is a degree. A year is a year is a year. The difference is that ratio data has a meaningful 0, where if you get a 0 on that category, it means you have nothing of that quality. So why don't we have interval and ratio here? Well, because SPSS uses those numbers in the same way. So to it doesn't care if it's interval or ratio. It's going to use the same kind of statistics and programs regardless. So instead of all 4 kinds, it just needs to know if it's nominal, ordinal, or scale. Scale is SPSS's word for interval or ratio. You still ought to know the difference between them, and we'll have some test questions that help make sure that you're clear about whether a variable has a meaningful 0 or not. But these are the places that you would want to label something if it had a different scale, because there's certain tests that you can and can't use in SPSS depending on scale of measurement. Now, in this first data set that I'm showing you, we don't need those value labels because we're talking about a number that doesn't need translated into words, and we're sticking with scale. The number of Skittles in our bag of a certain color is a ratio variable. If I have 0 red Skittles, I got no Skittles of that color. So we have just scale variables here. So again, you'll want to practice with SPSS switching back and forth between variable view, where you help SPSS understand the variable or construct that you're using. And you want to be able to look at data view to put in the data or information for each person, subject, animal, case in your data set and their different values. Now, we will use this data in a class exercise, if you're actually in class with me, to practice doing measures of central tendency and variability. And on that screencast, I actually use a more complex data set that's based on some opening survey information that students in my classes fill out. It's anonymous, so nobody can tell who they are, but it has a wide variety of variables, not just candy colors. So, hopefully this helps you get started. To review and recap, we've looked at data view and variable view. We've talked about putting in a name, leaving the type as numeric, so SPSS can analyze those numbers, giving it a label, so we know how to translate what the number means, values, if we needed to put in word values or labels for nominal or categorical data, and then this measure column here. Right? The other things are subtleties you don't really need to worry about to get you started. This is what you need to get started. So if you are asked and given a sample data set and told to set it up in SPSS, you would be ready to go. All right, let me know if you've got questions getting started, and I'll see you soon.